Good afternoon. We'll start our second unit today. The name of the second unit is time domain analysis of. Actually, the second unit itself is about time domain analysis. And to begin with, we are going to start with the time domain analysis of first order systems. Okay, so obviously, some of the things you already know. What is a first order system, right? You know what is a first order system when the order of a system is one. That is called first order. What does it mean by order of a system equal to one? It means that there is a single pole in the transfer function of the system. Single pole means the denominator polynomial has order 1, right? For example, s upon s plus 2 or 1 upon s plus 3. These are examples of first order systems. Because in the denominator, there is the maximum power of s is 1. Okay, so we are going to start analyzing these systems in the beginning, and then we will go for the more or the most interesting part, which is called analysis of the second order systems. Okay, and the first section of this particular uh, title, that is time domain analysis. So this thing you already know what is first order system. That is what we just repeated now. And time domain analysis is what is this we are going to see today. Okay, to start with. Okay. So in time domain analysis, the response of a dynamic system to any input or to an input is expressed as a function of time. Remember what are these words I'm using? Response of a dynamic system. Dynamic system, that is what we are studying in the whole subject, right? Those, all these are dynamic systems. So the response of a system to an input is expressed as a function of time. Means on the x-axis I'm going to have t, which is a time variable, and on the y-axis I'm going to see how the system behaves. So this is f of t or y of t in the system terms, which is the output of the system. And what we are doing is we are expressing the output as a function of time. Okay, it is possible to compute the time response of a system if the nature of the input and mathematical model of the system are known. If you can recall, we have discussed this concept at the time of discussion of mathematical models and the advantages of mathematical modeling. That we don't really need to have the system with us. The physical system is not really required every time with us. We can just with the help of the mathematical model of the system, we can find out the output of the system for a given input. Okay, then the problem or the difficulty is the exact nature of the input signals are not known ahead of time. See, remember what we are doing. We are trying to analyze the system. We are trying to find out how the system is, whether the system is good or not, what are the characteristics of the system. So we don't know what the input signals to the system are going to be when the system will be in place in the actual field. We don't know how that system is going to be. So instead of just doing something randomly, what we do in time domain analysis is we apply certain standard test signals to the system and find out the outputs, and we try to analyze those outputs, and based on the characteristics uh, based on the nature of those outputs, we find out what are the specific things about the that particular system. Okay, so this is basically the idea behind the time domain analysis. Is we will have a system, we are going to apply some standard test signals to it, and then observe the output. Okay, the characteristics of actual input signals means what do I mean by actual input signals? I mean the real life signals which the system is going to face when it goes into a field are generally of 4 to 5 types. Those are a sudden shock, a sudden change, a constant velocity signal, and a constant acceleration signal. Okay, I will talk about these 4 types of signals, and also I will give you examples of these particular signals. So listen carefully when I talk about this. Okay, these particular 4 types of signals, these 4 characteristic signals are basically formed by using are formed in are termed in terms of standard test signals, and the names of these 4 signals are impulse, step, constant velocity which is called as ramp, and constant acceleration is called parabolic. Okay, so we will first see each of these signals, how it is represented mathematically, how its graph looks like, and also I will tell you an example of each of these signals. Okay, another very important standard signal is a sinusoidal signal, means a sine wave, or what? Sine wave means what? Sinusoidal signal consists of sine as well as cosine. Cosine is nothing but also sine. Just what is the difference between sine and cosine? Only phase difference, right? Just 90-degree phase difference is there between sine and cosine. So both actually are same signals. Okay, so coming to the definitions of standard test signals, now what we are saying is the definitions of standard test signals. In many of the question papers, you could see this question being asked: explain the standard test signals along with their examples. So this is a very simple one, right? Okay, so what is the impulse signal? As I said, impulse signal imitates sudden shock characteristic of actual input signal. Sudden shock characteristics, and it is represented as delta of t. Remember this signal? This is representation of impulse signal. Delta of t is equal to, it can be, its value is a at t is equal to 0. So see, at t is equal to 0, this is the time axis, right? This is time axis. So at t is equal to 0, the value of delta of t is a, and at any other value of t, the value of delta is 0. See, it is nothing here. Only at this particular point, means at the origin, or at t is equal to 0, the value of delta t is a, and for other locations, the value of delta t is 0. If a is 1, it is called as, if a is equal to 1, the impulse signal is called as unit impulse signal. Okay, it is called as unit impulse in this case. Okay, now what is the example? Or as I said, I am going to tell you a practical example of this. So listen carefully now. Let's assume I have been discussing one example with you all the time during when I started about the control system course, that let's see a room temperature controlled room. Means what? There is a room, let's say our classroom, and we have controlled environment. In that we are controlling the temperature at a particular level using a heater, cooler, combination of that, or AC, or whatever means we have, we can employ, and we are keeping the temperature of the room constant. So this is our process. Okay, now imagine one of you is sitting near the window, and what it does is, uh, the inside temperature is now what, as I said, it is a controlled environment. So the inside temperature could be around, let's say, 24 degrees centigrade. We have controlled it inside. Okay, 24 degrees centigrade inside. And the outside temperature right now, if you can see, it is quite hot. So it would be around, let's say, 40 degree, right? This is our normal observation. Now outside temperature is 40 degree centigrade, but inside we have controlled environment, and the temperature is maintained at a constant of 24 degrees centigrade. Now you can imagine, if uh, this controlled environment is disturbed, right? If the controlled environment of the room is disturbed, the temperature inside will increase, right? Am I right? Are you getting this? Yes or no? See, if something, let's say a window or a door opens, so hot air outside will come in and the temperature inside will rise. So this is what, this is going to disturb our controlled environment. So this is obviously not a desirable thing, and this is called as a disturbance happening inside the system. Okay, and the nature of these disturbances is what we are now trying to study. If some particular type of disturbance comes in, what happens? The test signals are actually going to act as disturbance signals. Okay, so let's say someone is sitting near the window, and what it does, see, window is closed, window is closed for full all the time, and suddenly he opens up the window fully, completely. He opens up the window completely, but somebody notices that, or let's say I notice that, and he and the person immediately sees that I have seen him, so he again closes the window. That's it. What happened? You see, at some time he suddenly opened the window, but since noticing that I am also looking at him, he suddenly closed the window. Okay, so the instance was very small. The instance for which the window was open was very small, means the time duration delta t is very small, almost equal to 0. And that's why you can see now, what is the nature of this disturbance signal? It is the impulse signal. It was a sudden shock of the, it was just a sudden shock given into the system. So this is what, this is how the impulse signal is. This is how an impulse signal is going to come in a system. Another example, in electrical terms, you can say a voltage spike comes in, a very high voltage spike, but for a very short duration, fraction of a second. What happens in that case? Some devices may fail, some devices may still work, right? For against high voltage spikes for of short durations. So how do you determine that? If we design our system to withstand high voltage spikes of shorter durations, that is what our aim would be in that case. So those devices can be employed in areas where voltage spikes are common. Likewise, this analysis will be useful for designing our electrical systems also. Okay, so this is impulse signal. You got the idea. There was a sudden shock, right? This is a sudden shock. Suddenly the input came in and input went out suddenly within a fraction of a second. Almost no delta t, means almost for zero duration, but the spike is very high. Okay, another example of a test signal or another characteristic uh, of a input signal is sudden change characteristics. For example, again let's continue with the same example. Window is closed, but the person suddenly opens it completely and now keeps it open. Nobody has noticed him, so he keeps it open. So this is nothing but a sudden change. See, the change happened instantaneously at this particular instance. At t equal to 0, let's say, the change happened instantaneously and it remained the same. It remained constant for afterwards. So this is a sudden change characteristic, and this is called as step signal. Step, this because this looks like a step. Step म्हणजे काय? पायरी, right? It looks like a step. That's why it is called a step signal. Formally, it is indicated by u of t, and it is equal to a for t greater than equal to 0, and it is 0 for t less than 0. Remember the difference, delta of t and u of t. You will see that this section is same, right? For delta of t and u of t, it is the same, but the difference is in t. Delta of t is a when t is equal to 0, and it is 0 otherwise. However, u of t is a for t greater than equal to 0, means at t equal to 0 or more than 0, the value of u of t is a. Okay, and if a is equal to 1, it is called as unit step signal. Okay, now the third signal is called ramp signal. This indicates a constant velocity characteristic of actual input signal. What does it mean? Constant velocity. So if we take again the same example, same window example, let's see, he is the same person who first tried to open the window here, and everybody noticed, so he had to close it immediately. But he still feels that he want to open the window. So what he does, he is very mischievous. So what he does, he starts to open the window. The window is closed in the beginning. He starts to open the window and slowly keeps on opening very slowly, so that he does it very slowly so that no one finds out that there is that there is a change in the window size, or window is opened or not. He does it very slowly with a constant speed or constant velocity so that no one notices him. This is also a characteristic of input signals. Sometimes some input signals can also be in this way. In this, they can also have this characteristic. Mathematically, again, they are represented by r of t is equal to at for t greater than equal to 0 and 0 for t less than 0. The graph of this signal looks like this. Before t equal to 0, the value is 0, and after that it is a constant slope line, and a in this case works as a slope. A in this case is the slope of the line. Okay, if a is equal to 1, it is called as unit ramp signal. Okay, if a is equal to 1, it is called as unit ramp signal. Okay. Okay. The fourth signal now is called parabolic signal, and this parabolic signal imitates the constant acceleration characteristics of actual input signal. It imitates constant acceleration characteristics of actual input signal. What and the nature is what? How is the nature? At square by 2. The formula for this is p, the parabolic signal is equal to at square by 2. So it is 0 before t equal to 0, and after that it is in the shape of a parabola. Okay. Who is this Oppo? So this parabolic signal is in the shape of a parabola after t is equal to 0, but before that it is 0. Okay, and again if a is equal to 1, it is called as a unit parabolic signal. Okay, and a is nothing but the slope of the parabola. Okay, so these are four standard test signals that are used for time domain analysis, and on this slide I have taken all of them together. Okay, I've taken all of them together on a single slide so that you can basically look at them all together, and now we are going to look at their relationship between them. So you have I hope you are writing down whatever is going on. Okay, so impulse signal is this one. Delta of t is equal to a for t is equal to 0, and it is 0 for t not equal to 0. Step, it is a for t greater than equal to 0. So one thing is common to all is when t is less than 0, means for the negative axis, all these signals have value 0. Okay, all these signals have value 0 for t less than 0. This is common to all these signals. Only for positive part of the x-axis, these signals have value. Impulse doesn't have value for positive part also. It has only value at the 0 at t equal to 0, and it is a. Okay, the relationship, can you see this? Is it correct? This is integration sign. Okay, integration. This is integration sign. Okay, so is it correct? If I integrate this signal, I will get this one. Is it right? You see, you can check. If I integrate this, I should get this. If I integrate this, I should get this. So if integration holds in this direction, if integration is correct, then in the reverse direction, obviously it is differentiation, right? So differentiation of ramp is step. You can also just see at differentiation of at or d by dt of at. What? D by dt of at, what will be the value? A. D by dt of a, 0. But since it was like this, there is a sudden change at this location. and therefore it is A at t equal to 0. Okay, at t equal to 0, and it is 0 otherwise, right? So in this way, impulse, step, ramp and parabolic signals are related to each other. Impulse to step, step to ramp, ramp to parabolic. So what you can do, you can remember the sequence: impulse, step, ramp and parabolic. Okay, you can remember this sequence, and you can note down that when going from impulse to ramp, you can apply integrations. Okay, now the question that I said, the most frequent question asked is about standard test signals, and it ends with the Laplace transforms of these test signals. So this is the impulse signal, as we have seen just before. The Laplace transform of this impulse signal is nothing but A. You can check this, right? If you apply Laplace transform to the impulse, the output is A. If it is a unit impulse, means if A is equal to 1, means in that case this will also be equal to 1. No, that always holds. Okay, for the step signal, if you apply Laplace transform to it, the Laplace transform is A upon S. If A is equal to 1, the answer will be 1 by S. Now you can also verify this in the case of integration also, right? Here you have in this case, the Laplace transform is 1. So in this case, what would be the Laplace transform? Since there is an integration, it is going to be 1 by S, right? So everything will hold. All these things are mathematically sound. You cannot say that this is happening but this doesn't fit in, so nothing like that. Everything will fit in. That you are studying will fit in into this. Okay, Laplace transform of ramp is, you take the Laplace transform at, Laplace transform at is A upon S square, and for parabola it is 2A by S cube. In all these cases, if those are unit ramp or unit parabola or unit step or unit impulse, then A will be 1 if the signal is unit, right? Unit ramp or unit parabola or unit step. So everywhere A will be replaced by 1. Okay, so these are the Laplace transforms of the test signals. Okay, are you getting all this? Any questions, any doubts in what we have seen until now? Yes, any doubts? Anyone? No? So shall we go ahead? Okay, the meeting, it will end automatically, so you just re-log in on the same link if it terminates. Okay. Okay, now coming to the main focus of the unit, what we have been talking about is we are going to analyze the system in time domain. So what is important to see is time response of the control system. So what it is, as I just in the beginning of the lecture also we said, time response of a dynamic system is the response means output. Okay, this is a natural word. If I say something, you will respond to me. That is called response. That is, I'm giving some input, you will provide some output. We will give some input to a system, the system will provide some output. So this is nothing but called as response. Okay, so the response we are analyzing in terms of as a function of time. Okay, in time domain analysis. So what we have seen, for example, okay, so what we were talking about is this thing. This is a system, any kind of system. Okay. And when we are talking about time response or time domain analysis, what we are going to do is we are going to apply certain test signals to this system. What is this signal? Can someone say, can someone tell me this signal is what? Yes, tell me what is the first, number one and number two. Number one signal is what and number two signal is what? This is impulse and this is step, right? Just now we have seen. You should try to speak up. Okay, so these are examples of signals that we are going to apply. Okay, and these signals we are going to, some of these signals we are going to provide as input to the system, and we are going to observe what the output is. We are going to observe what the response of the system is, and that is how we are going to find out, or we are going to analyze the given control system. Okay, every time response has two components. First one is transient response and the second one is steady state response. Now what are these? Transient response is what? When the response of the system is changed from rest or equilibrium, it takes some time to settle down. See, as in the example of room temperature control, what we said in the beginning, that the room temperature is controlled properly at 25 degrees centigrade, 24 degrees centigrade. So when we say that it is now controlled at a particular set of parameters, it means that it is now in equilibrium. Okay, so there is an equilibrium. When something changes, when some disturbance occurs in the system responds to it and tries to attain equilibrium again, right? For example, when there was a step input, when the window is suddenly opened like this, okay, the temperature was something here, the temperature will start to increase and it will go from, let's say, 24, it will increase to, let's say, 25 or 26 or something like that. But of course it is not going to go directly to the value, right? If at all the control system doesn't work, if it doesn't control, ultimately what we want, something will happen and we want that the our controlled output to be again at the level of equilibrium, but that may or may not happen. Okay, that is a part of another discussion. But even though the temperature will increase inside the room, it is not going to increase in the same manner. Even if the temperature increases, it will follow some different path. So that path could be like this, that path could be like this, that path could be something like this, right? Now what I have drawn here, when I said that the path could be something, I have drawn 3, 4, 5 paths. These are basically the transient responses, examples of transient response of a system. And what is that? It is the response of the system from rest, this was the rest, to equilibrium or to the next steady state. Okay, response of the system from equilibrium to steady state. Steady state is again the part where the system settles down. Okay, that is called steady state response. Okay, so yeah, that's what it is. Transient response is the response before the system attains steady state. And what is steady state? It is when the system is said to have attained steady state when the response is within a very small tolerance band, normally 2 to 5% band. When this response is in between that and remains there, it is called as the system has attained steady state. Okay. This part, this section, this transient response is what is very important to study. How the system is going to behave. Because you can imagine now, if there is a, let's say there is a chemical plant. Okay. Let's say it is it is the Serum Institute plant where some vaccines are being manufactured. So obviously there has to be a controlled, extremely closely controlled temperatures must be there, right? So if for a particular section the temperature needs to be increased from, let's say, 5 degrees to 6 degrees, it is a requirement, for example. So if this is how it increases, this is one example, this is one sample it can do happen, this is another sample it can happen, another way it can happen, this is another way it can happen, and also it can happen in this way. Okay, all are possibilities based on the components inside the plant. Okay, see what has happened in this particular case. The temperature increases above the final value, above the required value. How much it increases is again another question, right? So this can be one example and this can be another example, right? So how much extra increase above the final value? Of course, this is one value and this is another value, and the others, these or these, they do not increase above the final value. So what is our requirement? The system designer or the plant designer will have to put forward his requirement in the beginning, that the temperature cannot go above the desired value, not at all. So ultimately what is expected is this line, right? It should be, if I am increasing temperature just like this, the final temperature should also increase in the same manner, but that is not going to happen. That is going to need a lot of tuning, which is very difficult. So what is acceptable? Is this acceptable or is this acceptable? What are the differences? Here the temperature is getting attained comparatively earlier than this one, right? This one is better in the temperature sense than this one. Or if I want the temperature to be attained very quickly and I can sustain some oscillations, then this is better. So obviously what the ultimate thing is, that the requirements are going to be prescribed by the plant designer or the plant engineer. He has to first give us what are the requirements, and accordingly we are going to see that our system follows those requirements. So basically when we are going to analyze the given system, how are we going to analyze? We are going to analyze based on the mathematical equation, based on the transfer function equation of transfer function model of the system. Based on the transfer function itself, we can see how, when we apply step signal as an input to this transfer function, how then what is the nature of the output is, what is the nature of the response, and based on that we can say that this particular model is feasible for this particular application and something is not. So this is basically the crux of why we are doing this. Why we are doing this? Based on the time domain analysis, we can find out which one or what system is good for which kind of applications. At the end of the 6th unit, you will be able to find out based on the requirement of the system or requirement of the person, we can give them a particular control system. We can design a particular system for them. And this is what the design of control system means. Okay. So in our next lecture, we are going to continue our discussion on the timed response of control system. Okay, we are going to see the transient response, and in particular we are going to talk about the first order systems in a lot more details. And obviously in the next coming lectures we are going to talk about second order system responses also. Okay, so we'll stop here.